Kia ora, folks, and welcome to the Huddy Hui, episode 132. And this is our preview before the Wellington Lions and the NPC Final against the Bay of Plenty Steamers. And, of course, you can see I'm wearing my Lions hat tonight, and we're looking forward to tomorrow. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. Now, someone who knows about winning finals in the domestic rugby competition at the moment, provincial rugby, is a former player here from the capital city. Kenan Gillson is our guest on the Huddy Hui tonight. Kenan, many thanks for coming on the Hui tonight. Let's talk about the Meads Cup final. You defeated Canterbury, a very nervous finish. What were the keys to victory?
Yeah, I mean, Meads Cup final, pretty special to get there and get the opportunity. But keys to winning it was just our preparation. You know, we've got a great coaching staff and David Harrison, Joe Murray, and then Leon Holden and Murray Driver. The preparation we had leading into not just the final, but the semi against Wanganui was just exceptional. You know, we didn't add too much to the basket and we didn't take too much out either. We just crossed the dots and ticked the ticks. You know, we just got through the basics, got through what needed to be done. And there was a real belief when we rocked up on the Saturday that, you know, it was ours for the winning. It wasn't going to be a game we were going to be beaten and it was going to be a game we'd lose. But there was certainly a feeling of we'd done everything correct and we were in the best place we could be.
Boyd Park in Te Aroha was pumping. How did that help the team on Saturday last week?
I mean, makes a huge difference to be able to run out into your home ground, you know, under the mountain and look to the stands and they shoulder to shoulder with people. I think the stats I saw from the Thames Valley page was there's about 5,000 people there. And while there was a lot of Thames Valley supporters, there was a lot of Hammer supporters as well, which just probably highlights the support they get down in mid-Canterbury. So, you know, it makes a huge difference running out there and the cheers and the boos. You know, the cheers are for you and the boos for someone else. So, yeah, made a huge difference.
And how have the celebrations been? And are they still going?
Celebrations were up there, some of the best celebrations I've had. Not quite like cracking a beer at 6 a.m. with a Morgan Poi in the CBD, but it was definitely up there. You know, they went deep into the night and long into the evening. The Monday was probably a little bit special, a little bit more intimate, a tight-knit group of boys over here on the mount that were travelling over. The journeymen, we call ourselves. So, we certainly made the most of it, put it that way, only just recovering now.
Of course, Thames Valley have been in a few finals over the years and come short. How important was this win for the team, considering the season?
You know, they 2018, they won it, came close a few times since then and never quite managed to go the whole way after that win in 2018. But to be able to not just only get the home final, I think the home final was just as important, if not maybe more important to some people to have a home final. But just walking around the community and seeing and hearing people, you know, talk to us about it, you could see how important it was to people. I mean, in my, you know, people that I work with or outside of my work that know I play for the Swamp Foxes, I was getting plenty of phone calls and emails. Definitely not work related, but you know, well, congratulations of one making the final, and then, you know, this whole week people calling up and emailing, just, you know, saying how much they enjoyed it, how cool the game was. You know, they tuned in, they watched all of it, they were jumping in and out of their seats. So I think for the community was really, really important.
Let's talk about your hair colour. Was it from a random seagull that landed on you? Or what's the story behind it?
I mean, looking at it probably could be. Nah. So like any footy team, we've got, you know, a list of protocols and rules to abide, and you know, if you step out of line, there's consequences. For myself, it was our last trip down to Gizzy, playing against Poverty Bay, and management had sort of made the call that they'd loosen the reins a little bit and give the boys a little bit of free rein with our training gear and let us wear a little bit of mufti over the weekend. We got a couple of polos, but 3-4 days of travel, they sort of get a bit manky by the end of it. So we're allowed to wear a bit of mufti over the weekend. I just happened to get the timings wrong. So I rocked up to team breakfast on the Sunday, full mufti, walked in the room, and everybody was in team colours. So put it upon myself. The bloody had rolled the dice, had to get the die. But to my credit, I cut and dyed myself. So, if anybody's looking for it, just hit me up and I'll do a pretty good cut.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic indeed. How have you found the experience of playing Heartland Rugby?
It's my second crack at Heartland, funny enough. In 21, I got the privilege of being a loan player for HK up the road and had a couple of games for them, and then just through a bit of selection, didn't quite stick it out, unfortunately. Didn't get it all the way through. So I had to have another crack, pretty special. But to play for the Swamp Foxes, it's pretty hard to describe. You hear a lot about them. They got a big social media presence. They put a lot of effort into that. But to be amongst it and to get the coaching that they provide, Joey and Harry, the effort they put in, they two proud Swamp Fox men themselves, both played within the valley and both played for the Swampies. They wear their heart on their sleeves, and for them, it's not just about coaching. It's something really, really important to them. So to be in that sort of environment and to see how much it means to everybody that's there, pretty privileged to have gotten the opportunity.
Swamp Fox number 1,280. Who was your debut against?
My technical debut, we played an exhibition game against King Country at FMG Stadium. So that was my first class debut for the Swampies. But my actual Heartland debut for them was against Wairarapa up there down there in the Wairarapa as well.
Of course, this season the team finished third in the regular season with a loss at home in the last round against Horowhenua Kapiti. What was the turnaround heading into that game against Wanganui? What were the keys to that win? Because prior to that, Wanganui were going pretty well, but they also lost in the last round as well.
Yeah, I mean, we probably got a little bit comfortable. We'd started the season pretty well, and then we had that loss against Wanganui at home, playing in Thames, and that hurt a lot, and that sort of like kicked us into gear. And then from there, we had a pretty bang on season. A few things here and there that need to work on, but that's like any team. But that game at HK, we played up in Whitianga. There'd been a lot of build up to it, a lot of excitement. I mean, we arrived in Whitianga on the Friday, and we all had dinner together as a team in the hotel, the Whitianga hotel, where we had dinner. I mean, they were all but cheering for us as we walked in, and that was just for the Friday dinner. So we felt like we probably won the game before the game had been played. We were probably a little bit relaxed. I think everybody in the team would be pretty comfortable with me saying that, we rocked up and we assumed that the game was ours. Running out onto the field on the day, pretty cool field. If you haven't been to the Whitianga, the Mercury Bay Rugby Club, go up. I recommend it. Connor McVeary will take care of you, but it's an exceptional place to play. And then we ran out again, all the supporters behind us, and we thought we had it. And then HK kicked off. We missed the kick. And they ran, and we were defending on our 5-meter line, and we were sort of punched, and we hadn't even opened our eyes up. So, it was probably just a little bit about being relaxed, and then being punched in the face sort of gets you angry. So we lost that game, and going into a semi, we're like, well, we sort of cooked ourselves. If we had won that game, we would have automatically got the home semi-final. So there was probably a little bit of passion on top of the fact that Wanganui had beaten us at home earlier in the year.
How many games have you played for the Swamp Foxes so far? And what has been your best one as well?
I think it's 9 from memory. I can't remember. I think it's either 9 or 10. I can't remember That's not including preseason, obviously. Probably the most memorable that comes to mind would be the game against King Country at FMG. Like first time to wear the jersey. That's always memorable, no matter what team you play for. But that was probably the first memory that popped into mind. But then after that, it's hard to pick, man. I would say, yeah, probably the FMG game, followed very closely by winning a Meads Cup. But that's probably more the experience as a whole as opposed to the game itself.
As you mentioned earlier, Horowhenua Kapiti in 2021, number 1,378. Who did you debut against? And like the question before, what was your best moment for HK?
I did. Yes, I debuted against West Coast. We had a trip down there. The most memorable thing about that was we'd landed on the Friday. We'd done a captain's run, gone back to the accommodation, got through everything, and then on game day, got off the bus and we walked out onto the field. And I look across, and West Coast is sort of walking through, and I see this big, tall guy, dark hair, bit of a mullet, sort of walking around, and I go, all right, I recognize that guy. Who is it? I'm sort of like squinting a lot, and I'm sort of like, well, I kind of just, we've literally just showed up. We're about to put boots on. I can't just always look over, and there's this guy called Ethan Simpson. So what the hell's he doing? So Ethan Simpson was a guy I'd played all my Colts footy with back over in Canterbury. We'd played Colts together. We got into Prems at the same time. And then sort of like I'd moved to Wellington. And I think at that point he was looking to or just about to head over to Aussie to start playing rugby. So I look over and I see this Ethan Simpson. I go, bloody hell, what the hell? Play the game. I think he was playing lock or six maybe. And I was playing hooker. And I think he bumped me twice and stepped me out probably 3 times and got a big break down the edge. And we only just won by it. But going there and seeing somebody that you used to play with on the, technically the other side of the country from when I was living was a pretty cool moment.
What is your preferred position? Playing flanker or hooker? Because you've played all around the place, haven't you?
Yeah, I played all around the place. My preferred position's on the side of the scrum. The only reason I really went to hooker was when I finished my Colts at Burnside. Burnside in Canterbury is just the flanker factory. If you're a flanker, you've probably come from Burnside, and then you went to another club because you wanted to play Prems. So I was playing 6 and 7 in Colts, and then it just wasn't up to the mustard in Prems, unfortunately, at that point. Few kilos shy and probably lacking a little in skill set. So I thought, well, no one wants to play front row. I like a good feed and I love a beer, so I might as well put on 30 kilos and become a hooker. So fast forward a little bit into end of 2019, moved to Wellington, and then made the jump over to OBU and sort of walked in to OBU, and I was like, probably not going to get a sort of a Prems spot, but, going for a jam, and met the forwards coach, Michael Barnes, for the first time, and sort of got chatting away, where you from, blah, blah, blah. And I said to him, from Canterbury, I'm a Lucy, 6'7", and he sort of probably not exactly how I do it, but it's how I remember it as well. Sort of like, look, mate, I'll be honest with you. If you want to play Prems here, you're not going to do it on the side of the scrum. We've got Caleb Delaney, Tane Plumtree, Tiaki Favish, Cody Quinn, Josh Kimlett, and just started listing off all these names. And I mean, some of those names, you can see where they are now. And I sort of like, look, I do play hooker as well. And he's like, yeah, sweet. And then from then on, I was in the Prems as a hooker. I just didn't tell him I couldn't throw at that point. So I spent a lot of time practicing by myself, trying to figure out how to throw the bloody ball.
Now, of course, club footy, you play at Waihi. How was this season, and how'd they finish up?
Yeah, so it's been a pretty season of chips, funny enough. So made the move over to Waihi from the Mount this year. Me and a couple of the boys, we were just looking for something different. New crowd, new club, new competition, just something a bit refreshing. We made the trip over from the Mount to Waihi for the year, and yeah, it's a pretty good year. We we went undefeated the whole way through. Got to the final and won that as well. So yeah, pretty cool experience. Pretty great club. They've gone through some tough times in recent years. So to be able to go over there and hopefully have added some value and given back to their community, it's a pretty cool community. They do a lot in the club and in the local surroundings, and there's a lot of incredible people there. So to come away with a trophy and see it put up in their mantelpiece is pretty amazing.
As you mentioned, you played for the Mount Maunganui. How was that your time there at the club?
Yeah, so I left Wellington, started 22, and I rocked up at the Mounts, eager to get ripping in. And, I rocked up late into the pre-season, so things are sort of already in motion. And so I felt like I needed to make a statement. So I ran around like a bit of a headless chook trying to put shots on people and steal balls and disrupt trainings to try to get myself noticed. And bless his soul, Chris Alvin put up with me and persevered with my eagerness. And, I spent half the year playing as hooker. And then I lost about 10, 15 kilos. So I got put back on the side of the scrum. But yeah, the 2 years I've played with them, it's been pretty cool. Some really good roosters, the likes of Matty X and Cameron Goulash, to name just two of them. Zane Heath, another. I've since moving up here and playing with the boys, have certainly made some of the best mates I've had in a long time. And yeah, pretty cool environment, pretty amazing place to finish a preseason training, drive 2 blocks, and yet Mount Main Beach. It's hard to find better than that.
How have you found club rugby in the Bay of Plenty and Thames Valley compared to Wellington?
The first difference I found when I came up was, I'm not the smallest guy on the field anymore, which is quite nice. I found like the key difference I found, Wellington is probably, I don't want to say slower, but it isn't as frantic. It's a little bit more direct, a little bit more clinical. Wellington's privileged in having some incredible ex-professional athletes or, fringe guys that play in the comp. So it's highly competitive. It's highly physical. The skill set's probably up there and some of the best in the country, I think. As opposed to when I came to the Mount, shit, it was fast. Hence why I lost 15 kilos. Super fast, definitely physical. There's some big bodies up here, some super athletic guys, but just not the same heavy bodies that you'd see at, say, like a Norths or Norries or something like that.
Yeah. Now, why did you move to the Bay in the first place? And what do you do now for a job?
I just I'd spent 2 years in Wellington, was going into a third, and sort of came to a point where I was like, well, I'm not loving it. If I'm going to move, it's probably best to move at the start of the year. The easiest way to make mates is through footy. So if I can get up to wherever I'm going to go and make a friend, I best do it before the season starts. So I was looking to relocate. I was actually looking at Hamilton or the Tauranga Bay of Plenty Mount sort of area. And by coincidence, a guy I used to work with called Vaughan Smith in Christchurch, me and him had stayed close. I had a good relationship with him. And I think he had rung me on the piss or something. And he was cooking a barbecue, and he was cooking some meat that I used to bring to work. And we got to chatting, and I had mentioned that I was looking at relocating. And he said, oh, we might have something. I'll be in touch. So a couple of days later, he gives me a call and says, look, someone's going to call you. There might be something in the Mount for you. So lo and behold, there was a position here in the Mount. And yeah, couldn't say no. I thought, well, the stars are aligning, must mean something. I best leap that. As for a job, it's quite hard. People ask me a lot what I do for work when I meet them, and it's really hard to describe and not make it sound incredibly boring, which it's not, because I think it's a really interesting job. But in as few words possible, I would say I'm in the business of transporting fluid. So I do a lot of work with the milk factories, the fuel companies and stuff like that, as well as your average Joe that has a diesel engine that needs something transferred. So I'm a technical sales advisor is what's on my contract.
Brilliant title.
Yeah.
Some of our viewers and listeners will know there's a bit of a twang to your voice. You actually come from Durban in South Africa. So is that
Yes,
where
that's correct.
your rugby journey began?
Yeah, funny enough, I don't know if she's watching or not. Mom never wanted me to play rugby. She never wanted any of her kids to play rugby. And then she sort of got talked into it at the local school where I grew up, a place called Grattan Primary. And a family friend of ours, they said, "Oh, look, we need players. You know, can he play? Can he play?" And she said, "Yeah." Finally, she came and said, "Yeah, you can play. Just nowhere in the scrum, not in the scrum." And my first ever position was hooker. So I rocked up first training. Had no, I'd watched a little bit of rugby on TV, but didn't know. I think it was maybe 7 or 8 at that point. And so I had no idea what a position was, and just got told go to scrum. So I was bound up as a hooker, and went home. Yeah, Mum loved it. It was so cool. And she came down to the first game, first scrum. What's going on? So, but yeah, the love for the game certainly started back in South Africa. Like I said before about finding mates, something about throwing 15 lads on a field. You just grow a connection that you can't replicate anywhere else. Standing there on the field and watching somebody go to war with you and putting their body on the line and, actively trying to hurt themselves to stop somebody put a little white ball on the other side of the line just sort of makes a sense of camaraderie and companionship that you just can't get anywhere else.
And why did you move to New Zealand?
So Mom and Dad, bit of a long story, but at one point, me and my family were living in a place called Mozambique, which is just north of South Africa. And we were part of like a missionary group going there to help them re-establish the industry post the Civil War. And whilst we were there, we met this Kiwi couple that were missionary teachers. And basically everybody just became best friends. They rocked up, and as only Kiwis can, they rocked up with 8-gauge wire, and they built a school from literal rubble that is still standing today and is still actively teaching children. So we made friends with them. And then at the end, that was 1999 to 2001, I think, off the top of my head. And then we sort of lost touch for a little bit. And Mom and Dad were looking to leave South Africa at around about 2005, 6-ish. And they were sort of tossing up the UK, Australia, Canada, somewhere else, maybe. I can't remember. New Zealand wasn't really on the radar, and this couple, Martin and Joglin, got back in touch. And, the conversation with our parents sort of like reestablished, and they were talking about what they were planning. And then they said, well, we live in this place called Whangamata. We've got a big house. Just come stay here. Why not? Worst case, you go to Australia if you don't like it. So we're like, Mom and Dad were like, sweet, sort of go over, Google Maps it. And the first thing I remember vividly, we were sitting in, when we knew we were going to go over, we were sitting in the lounge, and Dad brought up Google Earth. I think Google Earth had just come out. It was cool stuff. We used to go on Google Earth all the time. But go on Google Earth, and Googled where they lived in Whangamata. I said, what can you see? What can you see? Well, big houses, big yards, blowing that. No, look closer. And then all of us noticed not one house had a fence. It was just house, open paddocks and yards and beach and beautiful water. And we're like, whoa, they must get robbed a lot. But yeah, so we came over 2007, I think March 2007, landed in Whangamata, and as only Whangamata can in summer, was smoking hot, beautiful weather. We were at the beach every day. All of us was starting to learn to surf, and we're like, we've cracked it. Life cannot get any better than this. And then Dad moved us all to Rotorua for winter.
Completely different.
Yeah, totally different.
And where'd you go to school when you're here in New Zealand?
Funny enough, never actually attended school growing up. I was
Oh,
homeschooled the whole way
oh
through,
yeah.
even back in South Africa. So I sort of sat in a kitchen with mum peering over my shoulder to my schoolwork.
Oh, brilliant. Now, let's talk about Old Boys University 2020. It was a great year, considering it was a really tough year with COVID and all that. What was
Yep.
the feeling like winning the Jubilee Cup final? In particular, the team you had, which was pretty stacked. A lot of those guys have gone on to higher honours.
Like I don't want to bag Burnside, but I come from a club that we were in a period of rebuilding. I'll put it that way. We really battled. You know, we had a fairly successful Colts team whilst I was in it, and then my prems years were tough to say the least. We had some grinds out there. So coming to OBU, you know, I don't want to bag OBU either, but I wasn't expecting much. I was just rocking up to have a beer and make some friends. You know, that was the mindset I came in. And then probably it would have been after our first game. I couldn't tell you what our first game was, but after probably the first or second game, I was like, holy, this is serious business. We're not here to partake. We're here to win. So for me, getting to the final was one thing, but to win something like the final and to see, you know, a trophy in my hands was somewhat surreal. Now I've been fortunate enough to be involved in 4 of finals since then, but to think about any of them, that first one with OBU still gives me chills. It's like a life highlight for sure. Stacked team, definitely stacked team. Like, you know, I remember obviously moving into hooker full time and throwing, and I'd have like Caleb Delaney and Tame Plumtrees, the guys I'm throwing to, big tall Timber, and you know, I've lied through my teeth saying that I can play hooker. So I'm sort of like throwing darts and I'll be hitting boys at chest or like going way over, and then you'd get the Caleb Delaney or Kenan, come on, mate. Are you a Prems player or not? Oh, yeah, sorry, bro. Yeah. my bad. Really did. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Holy. But I think it was, yes, we had some incredible players, but I think it was also just we also just had hard boys, guys that were just keen to get stuck in and just rip and stack. Like, you know, I mentioned his name earlier, Cody Quinn. You wouldn't look at him and say, shit, this guy is one of the toughest sevens in the comp. But if you've ever played with or against him, you could probably vouch that he is out for blood for 80 minutes that he's on the field. You know, get him like that, or Jonathan Fomawina, you know, mountain of a man that would go 80. I think he played 80 in that final. And I remember him with his one toe was black. He had broken it a week or two prior, trying to like fold it into his boot to then have to play an 80-minute game. So, you know, or Kyle Preston, another one at that point, was just sort of trying to find his straps and earn a spot at the next level. But even so, it was like a point of difference at the club level, you know, ran the ship.
Of course, you mentioned Carl Preston, his partnership with Callum Harkin. Those two have gone on to NPC level, and they're flourishing pretty well, aren't they?
Yeah, I think Harkin's got the same haircut as me at the moment,
I think he does, yeah.
Yeah, we must have it's a bit rude that he's going to someone other than me, I think. I think I'd do a better cut. But no, it is pretty cool. You know, I've mentioned before, you know, about playing with or under people, you know, the Swamp Foxes, and that means so much to them. And with Harkin at OBU, and I think probably the same mannerism that he takes to the Lions, it means so much to him. It's not a case of I'm here to play footy and earn a paycheck. It's like I'm here to be the best. I want to be the best. I want to get better. I want to help the people around me do the same. So to see him and Carl Preston to be at that level now and to be regulars in the team, pretty cool. To have, you know, cool to have said I played alongside them.
Your last game for Old Boys University, 2021, versus Norths. What was it like playing at a lake at Anvil Park?
Far out. I remember we went out to warm up and we're like, shit, this is wet. Like, holy, could they, we knew, like looking at the forecast, everybody knew the next day, the Sunday was going to be better. And we're like, oh, it's wet, boys. It is what it is. We'll just get through it. So we go through the warm up and the field was a little bit waterlogged, but it wasn't too bad. And then we go into the shed to like change our jerseys and we run out and it was like somebody had just turned on the hoses. And I remember running onto the field and it was mid-shin. We couldn't see our feet. And we're going to the ref like, mate, come on. There's no way we can. This isn't safe. So I'm monitoring the situation. We'll see how we go. And we're, no, what? And yeah, just like the scrum I was still playing hooker. The scrum would go down and the whole front row, if you watch the tape, the whole front row is under the water, fully submerged. We're bloody break up and you look to your opposite. Oh, you're all good, bro? You're good, yeah. Oh. And it was a case of just run from one pool to the next. Rion Paul would argue that they were the better team on the day. I would say they were probably just bigger bodies that slid further.
Yeah. Water slide material, that's for sure.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
Well, it's rugby. You're pretty good at holding the mic. Tell us about sideline reporting and how did that come about?
So on the side, I haven't done it much this year, just with the amount of travel that comes with driving 2 hours to training. But I run a dusty, trying to figure out how to describe it, sports commentary page called All That Stat Chat. Like and subscribe. But yeah, it sort of came around. I'd moved to the Mount, was in this new bunch of boys at a new club. And we had our first game of the season against Tapuna out there as well, which is a pretty cool place to play, actually. It's got a nice big embankment. But anyway, so we're going out there, and I was late to preseason, so I don't really know anybody. And I get out there by myself probably 2.5 hours before I even need to be there. I'm there before the reserves team has even started playing. So I'm walking around the field and like there's a couple of old boys there and they're yarning to me. They're like, oh, yes, we've had a bit of rain. The field looks pretty good, rah. And the field was dry. It was, I think the term I coined was Indian Test cricket. But so I'm walking around the field going, this is shocking. And then I sort of like, I sent it to the boys. So I got my phone and I just did a self video like that, just commentary on the ground. Kia ora, lads. Welcome to the Tapuna Rugby Grounds. Wind going easterly, blah, 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 and just sort of like gave them a debrief on what was going on, sent to the chat, and all the boys seemed to get a kick out of it and have a laugh. So it just became like a bit of a weekly thing that was kept in-house for most part. And then, the tail end of the season, we started posting them on the club Facebook and Instagram page. And, we got a pretty good reception. We got into a little bit of media trouble with one we did. I won't go into the details. I get in trouble again. But then at that point, we had to separate it from the club, and then that's where All That Stat Chat was born, essentially. Since then, I've just sort of show up to a rugby game, normally pre my own game, and just start harassing locals until somebody starts talking to me. It gives me 5 minutes for an interview.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Now, what is the most funniest or wackiest thing that has happened to you in rugby?
Oh, that's a tough one. Funniest or wackiest? I don't know. I'm too much of a head case when I'm playing to notice anything funny. I just get too tunnel visioned and like being angry. OBU called me Fizz because I was fizzing all the time. And when I first got to the Mount, I was called Colesy after Dane Coles because I was such a grub, apparently, which I still argue against.
Oh, brilliant.
So I can't really picture anything too funny, to be honest, I'm afraid.
What's your plans for the off season? Any other sports you play over the summer?
No, I usually jam a little bit of touch. So maybe go and be the super sub for a team and drink their beers on the sideline. But yeah, no real plans for the summer. Just, it's getting pretty warm here on the mountain at the moment. So yeah, try to look after the body, get it back into the functioning state. I got away with minimal niggles and injuries this year. Touch wood. It stays that way. So it'll just be get outdoors, get in the ocean, gym it a little bit, and then, closing tail.
Now, of course, there's another final involving a team up from the Bay of Plenty area. It's Bay of Plenty Steamers playing our home side, the Wellington Lions, tomorrow at Sky Stadium, 3:05. What's your thoughts on this game? Because these two teams played each other middle of the season. Extra time with Wellington winning after a minute of it. Could go either way. Weather's looking pretty bad tomorrow. But what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I really want to say Bop. I'm going to take it. I think weather's going to play a pretty big part in it, though. The way Bay of Plenty play, they play a pretty expansive game. They thrive on turnover ball, anything loose, and they almost instantly in the opposition's 22. They don't have a great conversion rate, but that loose ball they are lethal with, as opposed to Wellington, who's quite technical, quite controlled. They're happy to play 15, 20, 25 phases to get into your 22. And then once they're there, they'll just keep hammering, keep going. So I think if it is wet, especially if it's been playing Wellington, so it's just going to be a swirly mess. So if it is wet, I think Wellington will probably sneak it away by 3. If it's windy, I don't think it'll matter too much. But if the rain holds off, I think Bay of Plenty will probably run away 5-10 plus.
All good. Kenan, many thanks for coming on the Huddy Hui tonight. All the best for the rest of the year.
My pleasure.
And no doubt we'll see you around when you're playing again.
Champion. See you,
awesome.
Mate.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there's Kenan Gillson. What a great year he's had for Thames Valley and the Swamp Foxes. Now, tomorrow also, as mentioned, Jackson Bishop will be playing his 100th game for Wellington tomorrow. What a fantastic achievement for him. He'll be the first since Tana Umaga back in 2007 to play 100 games for Wellington. So a fantastic achievement for Jackson, which will be a special moment for him, but also for his family as well. And he'll be starting tomorrow as well. So there'll be a fantastic day for them as well, the family and Jackson. 3:05, Sky Stadium. Tomorrow is the game. Now, also, Bay of Plenty won the first ever NPC in 1976. And of course, in that time, this had been the only title. And those days, there was no finals, no semi-finals. We finished top, regular season, won. Now, of course, Wellington and Bay of Plenty, when they're both in the old format, the championship, that was a game that went to extra time. And Wellington won that to go back into the old premiership. Wellington champions 5 times, 1978, 81, 86, 2000, and then 2022 when we played Canterbury and beat them down there in Christchurch. So tomorrow will be a big game, massive game. I think Wellington will take it out. There's plenty online for Wellington tomorrow. I think they're going to do the number on Bay of Plenty. Fingers crossed, it's going to be a great game. Both teams look very strong. As always here on Huddy Sports, we always like to recognise that we want to keep what we're doing free. We're always on the lookout for sponsors. So head to huddysports.co.nz or to Facebook and Instagram, message us there, or email us at huddysportsnz@gmail.com. And we'd also like to thank our sponsors who have helped us again this year. Mike Pinfold, Plumbing and Drain Lane Limited, Louise Reddy, New Zealand Travel Brokers, and Jen Hickton, Funeral Directors. Great people that support rugby here in the Wellington region and Huddy Sports as well. So if you need any of their business, give them a shout. also, it's October. Of course, on Sunday, just been, we broadcast the Aruuri Moai Trust versus New Zealand parliamentary team, and that was to raise funds for the Auru Moai Trust, which helps those families that are living with children and people with special needs. Hashtag living a special kind of life. And today is October Day, and, you know, if you've still got time to buy socks, head to socktober.co.nz. It's a fantastic charity led by Paul Latham, who has done a lot of stuff for charity, but also with rugby as well. He's also kit us out with Dynasty Sports Gear for Huddy Sports. So, great charity. And help out Paul, what is a fantastic initiative that he has going. But this is the Huddy Hui for tonight. We've probably got about another 1 or 2 episodes left to close out the year. So do keep an eye out for those. And always, take care. I'm Brad Hudson. Ciao for now. Welly hoorah.